There is a moment in spiritual growth when God's nearness begins to carry weight. Exodus 27 describes the altar, the courtyard, and the lampstand, all elements connected to worship, sacrifice, and continual light. These instructions reveal that God's dwelling among His people demands ongoing responsibility. The altar reminds Israel that access to God involves sacrifice, while the lampstand, kept burning continually in Exodus 27:20-21, teaches that God's presence requires vigilance. Spiritual life is not sustained by occasional encounters, but by daily faithfulness. This sense of responsibility becomes vivid in John 11, where Jesus delays His arrival at Lazarus' death. In verses 4-6, Jesus explains that the sickness will not end in death, but in God's glory. Yet He intentionally remains where He is. This delay exposes the tension between human expectation and divine purpose. Faith is tested not when God acts quickly, but when He appears silent. When Jesus finally arrives, He does not minimize grief. In John 11:35, we see that Jesus weeps. God's power does not cancel compassion. Responsibility before God includes trusting Him even when understanding fails. When Jesus calls Lazarus from the tomb in John 11:43-44, He performs what only God can do. Yet He immediately commands the people, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go." Divine power raises the dead, but human obedience participates in restoration. God establishes responsibility alongside revelation. Faith that witnesses God's work must also respond to God's instruction. Psalm 48 celebrates the security of God's dwelling place, declaring in verse 14 that this God is our God forever and ever. He will be our guide even to the end. God's presence provides both safety and direction. Trust grows when believers recognize that God's dwelling is not passive comfort, but active guidance. Paul reinforces this truth in 1 Corinthians 10 by warning believers not to presume upon grace. In verse 12, he cautions, "So if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall." God's presence among His people does not remove accountability, it heightens it. Spiritual privilege must be matched by spiritual discipline. Today, reflect on how you respond to God's nearness. Do you treat His presence as reassurance only, or as a call to responsibility and obedience? The God who dwells among His people invites trust, demands faithfulness, and calls His people to walk carefully before Him.